Hi, everybody, and thank you for watching the Cleveland Collective. I'm your host, Amber Phillips, and joining me today is my guest host, Jojo, and our guest of honor, Mr. Superpimp, aka Mike, the Superpimp. So I'm really excited for this episode today. We're going to learn more about Mike Superpimp. We're going to learn what he did originally before this, that he was in the military. We're going to learn how Superpimp came to be and where you could find him at. So I'm going to start things off with Jojo. Here you go.
Thanks, Amber. All right, Mr. Pimp. I just have a few questions I want to ask. I want to get to know you a little bit better. Terry, were you in?
I was in the Army.
Oh, wow.
For 5.5 years. I attained the rank of captain, which I'm very proud of. I worked very hard, and there's a long story behind that because I was originally going to only go in for a couple of years, but some things happened that I thought that I could make a difference if I was in an officer position and put more time in the military, and so that's when I decided to attend OCS, which is Officer Candidate School.
That's interesting. Okay. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for saying so. I appreciate it.
So where were you stationed?
I went to originally to Fort Knox for basic training, and then from there I went to Officer Candidate School for combat engineer in Virginia, and from there I was a company commander in Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
Okinawa,
Oh,
of
wow.
300 men for almost 2 years, and then I came back and I worked as a civilian for the National Security Agency in Fort Meade, Maryland, which was very interesting to say the least. And then when the war ended, no, it wasn't the Civil War.
Wow.
When the Vietnam War ended, they didn't need the officers anymore, or as many officers, I should say, and so I was what they call a RIF, reduction in force, was out of Fort Meade, Maryland. So that was my last duty station.
Okay, so after you left the service, what did you do?
One thing that I wanted to add is that although I went to Officer Candidate School for a combat engineer, I graduated as a combat engineer, but they didn't have an officer school for military intelligence. So they took half of the class, and half of that class went into military intelligence, and I had to go to a different school to learn that side of everything. And
What does a combat engineer do?
it blows up things and rebuilds them. It's like, say that we were setting up a fire base someplace, or a fire base, or someplace where we were going to launch an attack from, and we wanted to build an airfield. So we would come in and build the airfield, but it was called combat engineer because what happens is, you're on the front lines before the rest of your buddies get there.
Yeah.
And so we build highways and basically build. But then on the other token, we blow things up. So if the enemy has a bridge or highways or something like that, then we're trained to how to make that happen.
Did you actually get to blow things up?
I did.
Was it fun?
It was like a little kid playing Army in a way. So if I ask you to repeat some things, then
Okay.
you know why.
So after you were done blowing things up in the Army, what did you do?
Well, I have to say that I never really got to get into that too much. It was just in the training part
Okay.
that I got to do
Okay.
the actual training of the blowing up and
Okay.
everything. But as soon as I graduated from OCS, then I was military intelligence. So that's how I got to go to work for the National Security Agency.
Wow.
Because I had 14 clearances above top secret at the time.
Oh, wow.
And now I just try to keep my personal life top secret so I don't get in any trouble.
I'm sorry. So, how did Superpimp originate?
Well, it actually, a very positive thing, kind of phoenixed from a very depressed time in my life.
Okay.
I've always been a positive person my whole life, and then all of a sudden a series of events started happening, all in a row, and they just all piled up. I wasn't able to see my child because of a dispute with her mother, and I was only seeing her once every other weekend, and my two 20-year buddies both passed away within a little. You can't go to Walmart and buy a friend of 20 years and stuff. So things like that had just really piled up, and for the first time, it just really hit me hard, and I went into a very deep depression. And in that depression, it's such a contrast from now when I think back on it that I was staying in a trailer in Alliance, Ohio. Paid like $1,200 for the trailer. Because I had shut myself down completely. I didn't have any money coming in, and I only turned on the heat when my daughter came for her every other weekend visit. So it was a very, very tough time. I would lay all I had was like 3 or 4 blankets on the floor and a radio. That's all I had in the trailer.
So, you were in a real bad time in your life. Did you like consciously say like, okay, I need to make a change, and this is what I'm going to do to change my life?
Right. That's a very good segue there, as a matter of fact, because what happened was, as I said, my daughter was coming to see me every other weekend. So one time she came, and she was just turning right around 4 years old at the time, and I saw her look at me in a different way, like she was not like a toddler would look at you. I could tell she was analyzing me as a person. Who is this person? What are they about? And when I saw that, I said, it's time that you quit feeling sorry for yourself. You tell yourself who you are. Time to stand up.
Yeah.
And be a true father. Not that I wasn't, because I was paid my child support. I never missed a weekend, ever. She wasn't going to be sitting at home on the doorstep and not have me show up. That wasn't going to happen. So that was that's how that kind of.
So.
Thank you for sharing that.
It is. That's something that's very, I would think, private. So yeah.
And when it did happen, that's when it clicked on me. I said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to go back to being me, or I can be proud of me first, so my daughter can be proud and have the example that she needs from me." So like I said, I had a radio, and I turned on. I used to listen to Howard Stern when it was free, and he was always advertising Progressive, at a job at Progressive. Well, Progressive is a Fortune 500 company, and here I am. I'm sitting in a trailer in Alliance, Ohio. I got a car with 4 bald tires, and that's an hour and 45 minutes one way from where I was to Progressive. But I didn't have any references because for almost 20 years, I worked as an entrepreneur. I would just come up with ideas how to make money, and I would just go out and execute it and make it happen. So that I didn't have a resume per se or references or anything like that, but I was bound and determined that I was going to get that job and bring myself out of the funk. So that's I figured it all out, and I did 3 telephone interviews and 3 personal interviews. And I got hired, and that was the turning point of and that whole thing is a great story. And I'd say it's a great story not because it's me. It's a great story because it can show people how, if you really are determined in what your goal is, you can make that happen no matter what. And this was a very strong, powerful thing for me. Was from the day that I held her the first time that I was going to be her dad. Yeah. In all of the truest sense of that.
That's beautiful. Because a lot of people, and I'm not just going to say just men, but a lot of people, they have kids and then they don't take care of them the way that they should. So,
right.
Yeah. And it's hard, but it's definitely worth all the struggle.
It is hard, but there's nothing in the world more important There's nothing in the world that gives you as much satisfaction or sense of, it makes you a better person than who you are
I agree
once
with
you have a
Yes,
child.
I agree with you 100%.
And not that I had any room to be any better.
Yeah.
There was a little, I saw a little niche in there.
So I have a question. We got to the point where you started at Progressive. When was the first time that you put on the Superpimp suit, and what did it look like?
Well, it was kind of just me. And I really started young, and the story about how I got into suits was my mom was full English, born and raised in England, and she was a nurse, and my dad was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne, and they met in England, and he came back to the States, did the deed, and here I am. And so we were flying back to see my grandmother for the first time, and I was like 7 years old, something like that. So my dad was, a typical guy of that era. He's worked 3 jobs, was never home, and it was good to come home, flop on, turn on the TV, and that was. But my mom was a little more out there, a little more exuberant, and much more personable. Let's put it that way. So when we went to England, she bought me a pilot suit, an airline pilot suit with the fake wings and the hat and the whole nine. So we're getting on the plane, and at this time there was you had to walk out on the tarmac. There was no stairs that came up to, or there was no gateway that came to it. And so we're all going up the stairs, and I'm watching these stewardesses say, "Well, hi, how are you?" And greeting the people as they were coming on there. And so I get up there, and I got this pilot suit on. I go, "Oh, look at that! Oh, he's so cute!" Just fussing over me like crazy. And he said, said to my mom, "Would you mind if he stayed with us for a little while?" He says, "No." So they took me up into the cockpit and had me sit in the pilot seat, and the whole time that during the flight, I was sitting on their lap, or they were making sure I had everything I needed and everything. And there was a little something. I'm only 7 years old, but I got these, and that was the time when stewardesses were. They had to be
They
perfect.
were hot stuff. Yeah.
They wore the white gloves and the strack uniform that they wore and everything. And so, like I said, even though I was 7 years old, I'm sitting on the lap. And I'm feeling a little something I had never felt before.
Oh my goodness.
So
Wow.
I said, well, from that moment on, I'm thinking there's something to the suit business. And that's how I think that it all originated, from the difference between how you feel when you're wearing a suit and when you're not, when you're dressed up, and when you're in your outfits that you really feel good in. You walk a little different, you talk a little different, you're the kind of person that you picture yourself to be. And it's funny, they say clothes don't make the person, which it doesn't, but it certainly enhances who you are, because you feel differently about yourself. So now actually the Superpimp thing started in 99. Is that 1890? No, that was 1999 is when it started. And when I went out on Fridays and Saturday nights, for as long as I was going out, I always wore a suit, because the Rat Pack was always my idols. Dean and Frank and the boys, they always went out. They were always looking sharp, and when they walked in the room, everybody was.
Everybody looked
it
at
was right
them,
there, and I saw all the joy and the smiles and the laughs that came from them. And I said, well, I like that. So they were kind of my mentors, or my heroes. So every night that I went out, I always wore a suit.
Well, thank you for sharing that, all of it. I'm going to hand the microphone to Sarah.
So Now, did you kind of just like eventually like slowly become super pimp, or was it like a conscious choice to be super pimp, or did people just start calling you that because of the suits that you wore?
Right. How that all came about is once I got the job, I moved back to mentor.
Okay.
Because that was only, I was going to go an hour and 45 minutes one way to commute. And so I got a place in Mentor. And when, and this is one of those times where I lost my train.
Oh, okay.
So do you want me to start from there?
Okay, so I'll just ask the question again. And if you
Okay,
want. Okay.
all right.
So, did you just grow into super pimp, or was it a conscious choice to become super pimp, or did people just start calling you that, or how did he really like? When did you officially become super pimp?
Yeah. So once I got squared away and I was back to being myself, I started going out, and like I said, I was going to go back to be the positive person I had always been. And so I just went out and I was me on steroids. No drugs,
Yeah.
just on steroids. I was going to be a better version of 2.0 of who I was before, because I went through some stuff
Yeah.
in that 6 months when that other stuff was going on. So I was going to come back, and I learned a lot from that. It was a very good experience and a bad venue to have that happen, but it was a very good experience. So I went out being me, and I think that they looked at the fact that I was an hour or two over 25.
Yeah.
And I, well, that was the truth. It's the bourbon that did all this.
Oh, jeez.
So that, being the older guy in the place and just being myself and wearing a suit like that, it was just, even though I was just trying to blend in.
Oh, you were standing out. You were blending in.
Trying to blend in. That people started to come up to me and they would say, can I have my picture with you?
Oh,
I
wow.
said, yeah, oh yeah, sure. So that would start happening, and the more I went out, the more it would happen, the more people would approach me and ask me about, who are you?
Okay.
What are you about? Tell me your story.
Okay.
So I did that for a while, and then all of a sudden, when I was at work, one of my buddies came up to me and he said, hey, you have 400 friends on Facebook? Oh, no, it was MySpace at that time.
My.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
MySpace.
MySpace. He says, you have 400 friends on MySpace? And I said, yeah, what's MySpace? I had zero idea. And so I didn't think anything about it. About 2 weeks later, I decided, somebody showed me how to get on it. And it was a site that was dedicated to me, but I didn't know who did it. But it was a super fan, and built the website for me, and so all these pictures would come in from the people were sending in, and they maintained it with love. It was phenomenal. And by the time 2 weeks later, when I looked at it, there was 2,000 friends on there, which just really astounded me, and I really didn't understand the concept at the time. But that's when it started to snowball, and but at that time they called me Rod Stewart because I wore the spiked hair with the gold tips,
Okay.
the blonde tips. And thank goodness that's all passed.
So,
We all
So-
went through that phase.
so like now that you see you have like 2,000 friends on MySpace, does it click to you like, oh, I can brand myself, I can make a business out of this?
I didn't think that way
Okay.
about it, but a lot of people would approach me and they would say, hey, I think your money, we can do this, we can do that. And I said, well, that's, I just enjoy the fact that people are paying attention, because I didn't know anybody. I'm a West Sider, and by that time I had lived all over the country and all over the world, so to be able to meet new friends that way was really all that I needed. So when that all transpired, finally somebody came up. Most of them were just BSing.
Yeah.
The people don't follow through with what they say a lot of times. And this one guy just kept coming up to me, and he said, you know, I would really like to represent you, get your social media going for you and everything, and really brand you. And he wanted me to say his name as what his nickname is. It's Foreign Soren.
What is it?
Foreign Soren. His first name is Soren,
Okay.
and he's from Romania.
Okay.
And he still speaks a little bit of the thing, which is his story is crazy and everything. But and he kept coming back to me and coming. He'd see me out and he'd say, "Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet?" So finally, I thought this guy is legitimate, and so he became my agent, so to speak, and he set up my Facebook, and he set up all my gigs for appearances, because he got me into making getting paid to go to nightclubs and parties, birthday parties, and all kinds of different events, fundraisers, and charity work and
So
things like
people
that.
they're actually paying you to go to these events now then?
Nobody more surprised than me.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm just Mike and Jones' little boy from Lorain, Ohio, you know.
So, what are some of the places that you've done, I guess, party influencing at? I know I've seen you personally at the Cavs games, at Barley House, at some of the tailgates. Where else?
Now my newest place out of town, because understanding that I feel more comfortable in my own age group. Friday nights,
I've noticed that about you.
as illustrated by the fact that I go to Kent to party on Friday nights.
Oh my gosh.
and I got a tremendous fan base down there. People are great. It keeps me a little youthful and try not to be cynical. And it just caught on down there. So I go down there. I have a bunch of friends and fans down there and just really enjoy.
Do you go to Harry Potter Fest down there?
You know, I haven't been to that, and I probably wouldn't be good at it.
You would make an amazing wizard. You should get hired.
I did go last weekend. Was Beatle Fest at downtown. So they had like 15 clubs that had different cover bands and performers that did Beatles songs, and that was from like 6 to 10, and then like somebody flips a switch at 10 o'clock is when it goes back to being a normal college Friday night. So Kent, and I like to go to Columbus whenever I can. That's a lot of fun down there, and I've got invitations to do openings in California and in Phoenix, Arizona, and so the more I can do that, the better I like it. I like to spread out a little bit, because I don't care how good and how much I love Cleveland and the area and the people and everything. It's good to get out of town and get yourself rejuvenated, get a different perspective, and then come back.
Absolutely, and your charisma is contagious. I could see why people want to keep hiring you, especially around all over the place. I mean, hear that you're getting offers from California and Phoenix, like that's crazy, but it's not surprising.
Well, I'll
You have
take
great
that
energy.
I'll take that as a nice comment, and I appreciate that. But it's also lent me a lot of experiences that I would have never had. Like I was doing a fundraiser at what's it, Treasure Island? Is that what they call it? The place in Lakewood there where the beach is. It's not Treasure Island. It's
Whiskey Island.
Whiskey Island. That's it. Whiskey Island. Thank you. And I was hired to do a fundraiser there. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'm in a dunk tank, in full suit, with shoes, ties, the hair, everything.
Did you know you're going to be dunked?
Well, I didn't when I consented to it. But once I say I'm going to do something, that's gospel for me.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and it was $10 a ball to try to dunk me. Man, there was like 500 people just
Oh
circling
my
around,
gosh.
just cheering to see me go down in that tank. And
Did you go down?
I went down, and I had a GoPro camera on
Oh my
that followed me under
gosh, how funny.
under the water and everything. But that booth made more money than anything else in the. It was like a carnival. It was a carnival setting. So they had clowns on stilts and that type of atmosphere. And but I was very happy to see, because it was for leukemia, and my play cousin that I grew up with passed away very young, from it's a terrible disease. And so to have that much money raised, it was great. It was worthwhile, absolutely.
So besides being dunked and Whiskey Island, what's another like unforgettable moment that you've had come out of being Superpimp?
Okay, there's been so many. Like I said, I feel very fortunate that a lot of these things I would have never been able to have experienced if it wasn't for the whole Superpimp thing. Another one was, again, the state director for leukemia called me and said, we'd like you to do an event for us. So once again, they heard leukemia, and that's all I heard. I said, yeah, I'll do it. Now, I'll fight a gorilla one-on-one. I don't scare easily. I walk the streets of Cleveland at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't scare easy. But I got one phobia, and that's height. I get on a high sidewalk, I get a little dizzy. it's
I'm
it's
with
bad.
you. I'm terrified of heights.
It's bad. So then it said, well, yeah, by the way, what am I going to be doing? Well, you're going to be rappelling off of a 13-story building in downtown Shaker Heights. You know do you know what rappelling is?
Yes. Try not to laugh at you.
Oh.
So how did that go?
I said, this is a real test of your mettle here, and your commitment to. You say you're always going to do what you say you're going to do. So that was the big time there. So yeah, I'm looking up at this thing, waiting for my turn to go. So it worked like when they pay a runner for every mile that they run, and you make a donation. Well, it was like every story that I came down and people. And once again, it made a lot of money, and the news was there and everything. But I got through it, and.
Were you proud of yourself when you?
Oh, I was. Yes. Soon as I was on terra firma, I took a moment to breathe,
Yeah.
number one, and to feel proud that I had an opportunity to challenge myself in that manner.
So, how did Cameo start?
Oh, that was a suggestion by Foreign Zorn, who's always had my back.
Orange Zorn.
I always pronounce it wrong, and he gets on me because I say Soren. It's Soren, like you soar like an eagle.
Soren, if you're listening.
He says and he says, I've been your friend and your manager on and off for 13 years, and you still can't say my name right. And I said, well, then you see how much that I needed you. So I appreciate you sticking with me, even though I haven't done that for you. But he was the one who suggested it to me. He said that's a good way to interact, and I love that. Any way that I can interact with the people more on a more personal basis, I love that. It's just, and it's going to blend into probably another question you're going to ask me, so I don't want to get into it too much, but. Yeah, I just really enjoy doing that, but it's a little difficult because what you're doing, I don't know these people, and I wasn't familiar with it at all. But what happens is they call in and request it, and they purchase it for somebody else, and so then they put in a couple highlights that they want me to include when it's something, maybe a birthday or an anniversary or some special occasion like that, or somebody that they wanted to introduce me to that came to live in Cleveland from out of town that didn't know who I was. So to sit there and I'm talking much like this in my apartment, and all I got in front of me is that. It's challenging from time to time, but I just absolutely love it, and the feedback that I get from it, because it's from the heart, because that person took the time to want to do something special for a special person in their lives, and chose me, because Cameo is basically celebrities. You know, Don Johnson's on there, and a lot of the reality TV stars are.
Snooki.
I'm sorry?
Snooki.
Snooki? So you got your choice. It's either me or Snooki.
I pick you.
I pick
Or you
Snooki.
guys can collaborate.
Well, yeah, that might not turn out so well, because there'd be a couple of hard partiers on the same wavelength at the same time. But so that's how it started, and I started doing it, and I really do, and I really do enjoy it. And I get better at it, I think, as I go along. Because at first I was a little squeamish about it, and I'd never really set up videos or anything like that. It's the background and the sound and the shot and the settings and everything. But
It's a lot.
Yeah,
And
it's-
sometimes it's just faking it.
well, I'm pretty good at that.
Like, this looks about right, and then every time it gets better, but nobody starts anything, and they're like, yeah, I'm the bomb, and if they say that, they're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
But a
it's
normal
cool that you're
video,
willing to learn.
exactly. So a normal video from I watched other people do theirs, and they were only like 3 minutes. I said, they're paying money to come in, and you're only giving them 3 minutes. And so mine are normally anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes, 8 minutes minimum, up to 15. And that 15-minute video takes me a good 8 hours in a day, because I have to get through it without fumbling, because I don't know how to do all that editing, stop and cut it out and put it in on a smooth basis. So if I'm 14 minutes into the 15 minutes and I screw up, I don't allow myself to do that. So I start from the beginning.
You start all over again.
Right, and
Oh,
I don't have
wow.
it, and I refuse to have cue cards or anything like that. Because I wanted to flow from myself, and part of that 8 hours, what adds to that 8 hours, is I have 3 days to do it unless they request 24 hours. So if the day before, or a couple of days before, I'm thinking about it. When I'm cooking dinner, and I'm thinking, well, what approach am I going to use on this one? How am I going to fulfill what this person wants me to do for them? Because, like I said, it's a special person they're doing it for, and I want it to come out a better expectation than what they even thought it was going to be.
That's awesome, because I'm sure people just spit those things out and don't really think about it too much. So it's cool that your heart's going into it. And I noticed that with some of your Facebook stuff too, that you were allowing people, like on your, I don't know if it was a live stream or on your stories, you were having people submit questions to you and then you were answering them.
Oh, yes. It wasn't a live thing. It asked me a question, and you would type in what the question was, and then I would, depending on whether they wanted me to answer publicly or privately, then I would just contact them back and write the answer for them. And there's a lot of serious questions that come through there. There's a lot of people that are hurting. They're really hurting. And they feel like they don't have any place to turn. And they seen me out, and they see I got a smile on my face, and says, I'm sure this guy can help me out, or at least give me a direction to go in. So a lot of times I just have to really. I'm sorry, sometimes I only have 3 days to do it. Seems like a long time, but just really isn't, because life really goes on. That's not the only thing you're doing during the day and everything. But so when I get something back that said, I could feel their sincerity to say, you really helped me with this. I go, yeah, ha, there it is. It's just the exhilaration, like you can't, because I worry about it up until the time that I did it.
That's really awesome. So like, this isn't just a character for you, like this is who you
Oh,
are.
it is who I am, absolutely. Because you don't last, like I said, this started in '99, and you don't last, you know, you say, talk about your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Well, what is 1999, 25 years?
Oh my gosh, that's a long, yeah, 25 years. Oh my goodness, I'm getting old.
Careful.
Sorry.
Yeah. So my 15 minutes would have been up a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because people, after a while, will see if you're not sincere in what you do.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you don't care,
Yeah.
then they stop caring. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So if you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing?
I'd be probably finding out a way to lay on the beach someplace with a little cocktail with an umbrella in it and a couple of tan Polynesian women with big fans.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I mean, not that I can afford that now, but you know, I'd figure it out if that was the case. But I would. But the thing that anchors me is that I have a very close family, and there's about 50 of us that live within 50 miles.
Oh, that's awesome.
And most closer than that. So as a family, we get together a couple of times a year, maybe a family picnic, or all of my cousins seem to come around at the same time. At the births. My dad had 7 brothers and sisters, so there was a lot of cousins. So we all get together and have a good time. So I couldn't, even though I've traveled the world and the United States, I just couldn't see me living away from the family.
Yeah.
And they might not think the same. Where are you going next?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always gravitate back here because I love the area, which I think is going to probably blend into another
Yeah.
question I'll get into a little bit more in a minute.
So I think when people hear the word pimp, they think of it as a negative thing. So what do you say to those people who think that what you're doing is, I don't want to say wrong, but like it's
It has a connotation that you're not gonna find it in a song in church.
yeah, yeah.
Like Dr. Dre or somebody talking about pimping.
'Cause you're not really out here pimping people.
No, but as I said in the beginning, they called me Rod Stewart,
Okay.
and then it morphed into Superpimp. So keeping in mind that I had nothing to do with any of this.
Okay.
It came to me. I didn't have any idea about it or any plans to do it. So the Rod Stewart came from the fans. Then Superpimp, it morphed into that. And then my sister, who's my moral compass.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate you. I needed it. She said, you know, you do a lot of charity work and fundraisers and things like that. You think that's a good that's a good thing to be known as? And I said, yeah, you know, you got a point there, but it brings a smile.
It
You know,
does.
just say, who's this? Oh, this is Superpimp. And then you see that smile, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I probably reached about 50,000 people. So who am I to say I'm gonna change it? But I had to do some kind of a modification on it to try to make sure that people didn't think that had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about it. I said, well, pimp means to promote.
That
And-
is a great explanation.
And what I pimp is the good life, good family, good friends, and good times.
Oh my God, I love it.
What an answer.
That's awesome.
And if on my cards, that's what it says. That's pimp means to promote, and that. So those who see it for the first time get to understand that that's not what it's about. And I had a mother, And I have a daughter, and I brought up old school, so I treasure women and respect women. So that people who know, which most everybody now, they know that that's just the nickname.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of morphing into Mr. Cleveland.
Oh, I like that
So
too.
and I said, well, maybe I should change it, or go along with it, or at least endorse it. But
Doesn't have the same ring as Superpimp.
no, it's not.
Don't do it.
Thank you for that. I needed a little backup on that. But yeah, that's exactly why I said they gave it to me. It belongs to them. And I still have trouble with the word fans, but I don't know how else to say it because
They
they're
are
not-
fans.
They're fans.
Yeah.
It just doesn't roll off real easy to me. But yeah, the fans dictated everything
Okay.
that's happened.
Do you get recognized when you go to the grocery store?
Oh,
Or-
it's amazing. And it's funny too because somebody will come up and I don't even know them. I see them maybe out of the corner of my eye, kind of. and then they'll get the nerve after a while or thinking they're not bothering me or anything to come up and say, come up and introduce myself. And the first thing they normally say is, "Where's your suit?"
Oh, so you're not wearing the suits out to the grocery store?
That's what I said. I said, I'm trying to wean off of two things: sleeping in my suits and going to Mark's in my suits.
That's funny.
Popular, contrary to popular belief. That's
So do you think you've accomplished what you've set out to do?
to this point.
Okay.
Yes, I'm proud of the fact that it has lasted this long, because that shows me that it's accomplishing and it's being taken the way that I intended to be taken. So yeah, I feel up to this point. It has. I can't help but wanting more.
Okay.
And I want to have more influence. I want to be known by more people. I want to spread the gift that was given me, because I don't sing. Well, I do, but I sound like a beer can going through a meat grinder. But and I don't play an instrument. I'm not, so to have my mug on the cover of Cleveland Scene magazine, for somebody who has some real talent, would love to have that exposure. But my talent has been to be able to bring a smile and make people feel better when they walk away from me than when they walked up. No matter what mood they were in, for whatever reason, the gift that was given, that smile will come on their face, and they'll ask for a picture, and to see their faces light up, and now, since it started in '99, when people were in their early 20s, now they're in their 40s and late 40s. It still ain't caught up to me, but getting closer. So and they don't go out, of course,
Yeah.
like they used to. But every once in a while, there'll be something that draws them downtown. Maybe their son or daughter will ask them to come out with because it's their birthday or whatever. And, so then they'll go. And to hear the stories, they just come up with just a bubble smile on their face. Can I take a picture with you? You were my childhood.
That's awesome.
It was like it was you were my 20s. You were the influence of my 20s, and it's so good to see you. And I go, man. I said, it melts me. It just really does.
So were you down in the flats a lot in the early 2000s?
Oh, I was there during the heyday.
Okay.
The basement and.
That's because I used to go, me and my sisters would go to the flats every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'd be at the beach club in the basement.
I'm surprised you didn't see me.
I probably did. I just don't remember. I drank a lot when I was there. So.
Oh, can we get into that?
Okay.
What's the stories there?
Oh my God. No, we were there all the time.
Yeah, Beach Club was my Thursday night
Okay.
haunt.
Okay.
But that's probably the place I went to the most on the night that I went out most to the flats. There'd be times but I was going out to the Bomb Squadron, which was a restaurant club at the airport. a lot during that time, and downtown was 6th Street
Okay.
at the Barley House, as you had mentioned earlier, and when that whole scene was happening down there. So that was good times. And
Oh, those were incredible
there was
times.
the basement. There was Fagan's.
Yes.
Whiskey Dick's was down there, and that jazz club. I can't remember what the name of it was, but that whole thing was just debauchery.
Oh yeah, it was. And like you go down to the flats now, and it's not the same. Like it's nice,
It's nice.
but
It doesn't have the grit.
No, not at all. I remember walking in high heel shoes and short skirts with no coat on in the middle of winter. You know, I mean, just to go into the club and dance and drink and have a great time.
Right? How could anybody disrespect the strength of women?
Exactly.
Especially Cleveland women, because it doesn't matter whether there's snow and the wind is blowing or the rain, and they got a crop top on.
Yep,
and a shirt
absolutely.
and a shirt and no jacket because they don't want to have to carry around
Exactly.
a jacket.
Uh-huh.
So I give them. Well, I'm the same. I've never worn never been a night that went out and I wore a jacket, so it doesn't matter how cold it was. Or on the other side of the spectrum, it didn't matter whether it was 102 degrees with the same amount of humidity. I'm wearing a suit.
You're wearing the whole suit.
That's why pimping ain't easy.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any short suits, or are they all pantsuits?
No, they're all pantsuits. I've never really, and I'll tell you why I don't. It was a story that happened right in the beginning, or after it was the first year of the whole Superpimp thing. I was hanging in Menor at the time, and some of you will remember the Bermuda Triangle in Menor, which was Maximilian's and the Avenue, and the other one will come to me in a minute. You can send it to me on my Instagram. It might come to me while we're talking, but they were like in a triangle. The two were next door to each other, and right in the middle, across the street, was Maximilian's. So I hung out a lot at that time, but in that area.
I vaguely remember going in that area, but it was a while ago. So when things become hazy.
Right. It was funny because there was like I said, I used to go to the place at the airport, and then a place down the road was O'Malley's. I don't know if you've ever been to O'Malley's. It's not a hotel, but it's not a motel.
Is it a Holiday Inn?
It's a.
Good one, Amber.
I had to. I'm sorry.
That was good.
Continue.
But in the 80s, when I went there, I was a big wrestling fan in the 80s. Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man and Brutus Beefcake and all those guys. Well, at that time, they weren't making any money to speak of. They were traveling a lot, but wrestling wasn't the big business it is now. So they would stay at that O'Malley's on Brook Park Road, just down from the airport, because it was close to the airport. So I walked in one night, and there's four of the biggies sitting right there at a table. I said, wow. Like I said, at that time, I was a huge fan. Hulk wasn't there, but he was my guy back in the day. But there's other name wrestlers were there. So I said, well, I'm gonna meet these guys. So I walk up to the table, and I go, you know what, guys? This is your lucky day. They looked at me like, who the hell is this guy? He said, well, why is it our lucky day? I said, because I was going to beat your ass, but I changed my mind. And they looked at me like, whoa, this guy's either crazy. The sheriff's probably chasing him outside with a net. But then after what seemed like an eternity, because I'm waiting to see if they got, if they've got the drift of what I was doing. And then a big smile came on their face. I sat down with them and spent the rest of the night and had and so every time they came into town, we'd have some drinks, and it was a lot of fun.
So you got to meet Macho Man?
No, Unfortunately, he was one of my favorites at the time. Even though there was a period in the script where he was Hulk Hogan's arch nemesis. So.
I just want to hear the cream of the crop speech in person.
Oh yeah.
The cream of the crop.
Oh, he was so unique, and so you couldn't help but to smile at his face and his contortions and the way he talked to that guttural thing.
So we talked a lot about a lot of places that you visited in Cleveland, the people that you've impacted while you've been here, and now I want to kind of go into what do you like about Cleveland? So what's probably one of your favorite things about Cleveland, or something that makes you want to stay around?
I could sum it up in one word,
Okay.
and that's the people, which is 2 words. I wasn't good at math. In algebra class, I used to sit in class with my algebra book open, and inside that was one of the series of the books that was called the Landmark series of the books, and I'd be reading about Alexander the Great instead of paying attention. But yeah, it's the people. I've lived, like I said, I've lived all over the country and all over the world, and I lived in L.A., I lived in Vegas, New Orleans, Phoenix, Washington, D.C., and people would always say to me, well, you know, the way you dress and the way you are, you should live in Las Vegas or L.A. To have something more happen or whatever. And I said, I lived in L.A., and if you passed out and died on a sidewalk from a heart attack, people would be pissed. They say that they had to walk around you. That was pretty rude of you to croak right here in the middle of the sidewalk.
Wow.
You know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but in Cleveland, it's that Midwest flavor. It's that the Midwest family mentality that you don't find. And I mean, within the Midwest you find it, but Cleveland, because that's my soil,
Yep.
that's my dirt, that's where my grit is. That this is the place to live. And you got all the ethnic people and the foods and the camaraderie. If you're stuck in the snow, somebody's going to stop and help you out, and you don't see that everywhere. For anybody who complains about Cleveland and hasn't lived anyplace else, then I suggest that you do, and you'll see the blessing it is to live in Cleveland.
I don't think I could ever live anywhere else.
Have you?
No,
Or,
there's no place like home. Like, I don't
Well,
think I ever could live anywhere else.
there you go. Probably family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But where are you going to find family?
Not in Las Vegas.
No, not at all.
There for a weekend.
Yeah. Not to say I don't love Vegas. It's one of my favorite places to go, but. All right. If you were not Superpimp, what do you think you'd be doing with your time?
Well, as I said, I'd probably be on the beach, but what I would be doing is it would depend on money situation.
Got you.
If I could spread what I have to bring in the income that I could do the things that I want to do, I love doing fundraisers. I love doing charity work. I love to golf and go out. I'd still be out at the clubs. To me, it's like playing a video game. You go in the beginning of the night, you put a quarter in when you get downtown, and the game begins. And then at the end, it goes, boop, game over.
Do you plan on stopping, or are you just gonna keep going?
Yeah, yes, I do. As soon as I see that zipper go over my nose.
Okay, good answer. I like that.
God willing, as long as I can,
Okay.
I can do that, and I can bring what I do best. Because people will ask me, well, how do you get the energy to go out? You know, the 20-year-olds are asking me, how do you go out? In the summertime, it's 4 nights a week. I'm either doing a gig or just out being, my own personal party. And so, after one night, they're done. I said, what gives you the motivation, or how do you get the energy? It's the energy that I get from people. and that smile and that exuberance that they have and that feeling of making that person happy. It's like a drug.
So
to
you're
me.
you're still going out 4 nights a week.
In the summertime.
Okay.
In the winter, 2, maybe 3 if there's
Okay.
if there's an event or
Okay.
something special that's going on. But yeah,
I know I went out for my birthday over the weekend, and I don't think I probably won't go out until my birthday next year.
well, see, that's what normal people
Yeah.
do. You know that.
Well, it's an extraordinary gift to be able to make people happy. You know, there's a lot of bad things out in the world. So to be able to be that positive and to genuinely want to make people happy and put a smile on your face, it's a great thing.
It absolutely is, and you know why it is? Because people ask me, "Well, I met you 20 years ago, and you had that same smile on your face. How the hell did you do that? What is the key to that? What's the secret to that?" I said, because most people go at it trying to find happiness in the wrong way. They say, if I buy this car, I'll be happy. If I buy this outfit, I'll be happy. If I do this, I'll be happy. And then, if you've ever owned a new car, even if it's a newer used car, so you go, for the first couple of times you drive it, you go, yeah. And then it's a way to get from point A to point B. That wears off, or the outfit wears off, fades in the washer, or whatever. I said the true key to happiness is not to try to make yourself happy, make other people happy. Take the time to make somebody else smile, to make their day, even if it's just a short encounter. If you do that, it'll come back to you. You won't have to worry about your happiness. It'll come back to you 3 times, because it builds your soul, and you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. And not only does it build your soul, but it's also bringing that happiness to them. And they want, and in turn, they pass that on, and we all live in a circle here. So they say it's a small world, but that's absolutely the truth. It is a small world.
Is it ever hard for you to do what you do? Like, are there days where you're just like, I don't want to do this?
Yes, because it could be, you'd have to be with me one night to see what it's like, because you can't ever be down. You're expected to be here, and you have to show that, and I'll talk to and take pictures with 75 people a night. And by the time that you do that constantly, and you're here, and you're on, and you're on, and you're on, at the end of the night you go, it's not physically exhausting, it's kind of mentally exhausting, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So, and now the few times when I don't feel it, I'll pass on going out, because I can't not be that person. And I started to say something in that order before about why I didn't wear the short suits. That's why sometimes I trail.
Okay.
So those of you who listen to, you got to kind of piece it together sometimes, And like I said, an hour or two over 25. Wait till you get there. And, so I had built up a pretty good fan base at that time, and I saw what was coming back to me from it. So one night I said, after about a year and a half of doing it, I said, just for a change up, I'm going to just go out in civilian clothes. So I go out, and I'm walking through the club, and here this girl comes up to me, and first of all, she recognizes me, and then there's a smile, and then it just kind of.
Oh, when she looked at your outfit.
Careful. So when she recognized me, there was a smile, then it just started to fade. And the reason for that was that she had been bred she was there with 3 girlfriends from Michigan who came to, and she'd been bragging on me in my suits for months. And so the one time that has an opportunity, they're going to show off the Superpimp thing or the Rod Stewart thing at that time, and here I am in civilian clothes. And I'll never forget that look on her face. I said, so I'm not ever going to disappoint anybody again. So I never went out. And there's only 2 places I don't wear a suit. I think it's Cedar Point and Put-in-Bay.
Okay.
Although I have on a couple of occasions. They have a place called the Second Level in Put-in-Bay that's like more like a nightclub.
Okay.
Rather than, if you guys have been to Put-in-Bay, I
Yeah,
take it.
absolutely, yeah.
So you know those bars are not really conducive to
No. Conducive to debauchery.
to debauchery. But that, like I said, that was more of a
Yeah.
nightclub type of thing.
Gotcha. Okay, so is there anything else you want to talk about, or you want to add, or?
Well, I wanted to take a moment for those of you who took the time to watch this and to listen. Excuse my trailing off sometimes and everything, but just know how much I appreciate each and every one of you. And everybody who comes up to me is so very special to me. And I wish that I had a better memory. And I don't want anybody to ever feel slighted because I don't remember their name or maybe where we met. But just know that you're very, very special to me, and I appreciate every day and what you give to me when I see you out. And I want to say thanks to you guys. You did a great job, and Amber, I understand you're going to be a soon graduate of this.
Yep.
This is Ohio Media School.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on that, and good luck to whatever you pursue. But you won't need a lot of luck because you got what it takes. And are you a former graduate?
I am a
or-
former graduate,
Yeah.
yes, and I work here also. I'm an instructor
Ah.
assistant, so.
So that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
They keep the good people back.
They keep the
no,
great
no offense.
people here.
Maybe one day.
They'll get rid of me.
No, Amber does a great job on everything she does, so.
Yeah. But maybe after you get your feet wet, that might become a time in your career when you feel like you want to come back and share what you've learned
Yeah,
and teach. But I can tell by the vibe of this place that it's a good place to work for.
It is.
And what makes it a good place to work?
It's the people.
Oh, bingo!
Best job I ever had.
Yeah,
I love it here.
and I can feel it.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
here.
we have a great time. It's work, but it's fun work. Like, I could do this all day long, so.
My goal in the future is to get as well known, and I'm going to use this word, but I'm going to need a minute here to explain what I mean by
Okay.
that. That I want to gain all the power that I can. So now I have powers in different ways. I haven't waited in a line anywhere, and I get special treatment wherever I go, and stuff like that. But I want to get the power where I reach as many people as I can and have the influence, the power of the influence and the numbers to make things happen that I want to have happen. I'm not the mayor, although I got an offer to be financed to run for mayor, and
I would love to see that campaign.
Yeah,
I
really.
would work on that campaign.
I would work on it too.
I would love to do it because I have so many ideas for the city that I know could work. But see, the thing is that I'm a dad, and I'd have to give up a lot of my family time and the things that are not that that isn't important, but you have to have your priorities. And once I got into that, everything else would be.
Oh,
there'd
it
be
would fall
no-
to the
no
wayside,
time, yeah.
absolutely, you're right.
But yeah, I want to get as powerful as I can so I can do the good that I would like to do for people.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Superpimp, for joining us today. It was amazing hearing your story, and it was really cool learning about you more as a person. This is the Cleveland Collective. I'm your host, Amber Phillips. Thank you, Jojo and Superpimp.
Yeah, I want to thank the Cleveland Collective. This has been quite an experience for me. If you're thinking about going to a media school, Ohio Media School is the place to go. I feel the vibe in here. It's not only what you're going to learn here technically, but what's going to learn something for your soul to take out to fight the competition and be the best that you can be.
Thank you, Superpimp, and you can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, and
Great.
you can also request him on Cameo. Thank you, and have